Worship of abstract intelligence in a concrete form is not only useful but essential for non-dual realization, for how can one be made fit for it without her benediction? Non-dual realization is the same as pure intelligence absolutely void of objective knowledge. Such realization nullifies all objective knowledge, revealing it in all its nakedness to be as harmless as a picture of a pouncing tiger or of an enraged serpent. When the mind has completely resolved into the self, that state is called nirvikalpa samadhi, the undifferentiated peaceful state. After waking up from it, the person is overpowered by the memory of his experience as the one undivided, infinite, pure self, and he knows, I am that, as opposed to the puerile I thought of the ignorant. That is supreme knowledge, Vigyan or Pratyabhishan Gyan. Theoretical knowledge consists in differentiating between the self and the non-self through a study of the scriptures or the teachings of a master or by one's own deliberation. Supreme wisdom is that which puts an end to the sense of non-self once for all. Non-dual realization admits nothing unknown or unknowable and pervades everything in entirety so that it cannot in any way be transcended. Example, a mirror and the images. When that is accomplished, the intellect becomes quite clear because all doubts have been destroyed. Doubts are usually with regard to creation, the identity of the self and their mutual relationship. And then the predispositions of the mind, example, lust, greed, anger, etc. are destroyed. Though any remnants of these that may remain are as harmless as a fangless viper. The fruit of self-realization is the end of all misery here and hereafter, an absolute fearlessness that is called emancipation. Fear implies the existence of something apart from oneself. Can the sense of duality persist after non-dual realization, or can there be darkness after sunrise? O Rishis, there will be no fear in the absence of duality. On the other hand, fear will not cease so long as there is the sense of duality. What is perceived in the world as being apart from the self is also clearly seen to be perishable. What is perishable must certainly involve fear of loss. Union implies separation, so also acquisition implies loss. If emancipation be external to the self, it implies fear of loss, and is therefore not worth aspiring to. On the other hand, moksha is fearlessness, and not external to the self. When the knower knowledge and the known merge into unity, that state is totally free from fear, and hence moksha results. Gyan, supreme wisdom, is the state devoid of thoughts, will and desire, and is unimpeded by ignorance. It is certainly the primal state of the knower, but remains unrecognized for want of acquaintance with it. The Guru and Shastras alone can make the individual acquainted with the self. The self is abstract intelligence, free from thought. The knower knowledge and the known are not real as different entities. When differentiation among them is destroyed, their true nature is evident in the resulting non-dual consciousness, which is also the state of emancipation. There is in fact no differentiation among the knower, etc. The differences are simply conventions retained for the smooth working of earthly life. Emancipation is eternal, and therefore here and now it is nothing to be acquired. Self manifests as the knower knowledge and the known. The cycle of births and the deaths endures with all the apparent reality of a mountain so long as this manifestation lasts. As soon as the manifestation is realized to consist of the self alone without any admixture of non-self, the cycle of births and deaths comes to a standstill and is broken down to fragments like clouds dispersed by strong winds. Thus you find that earnestness is the only requisite for emancipation. No other requisite is needed if the longing for emancipation is intense and unwavering. What is the use of hundreds of efforts in the absence of a real and unswerving desire for emancipation? That is the sole requisite and nothing else. Intense devotion signifies mental abstraction as the devotee loses himself in the desired object. In this particular instance, it will mean emancipation itself, for such unwavering devotion must certainly succeed, and success is only a question of time, which may be days, months, years, or even the next birth, according as the predispositions are light or dense. The intellect is ordinarily befouled by evil propensities, and so nothing good flourishes here. Consequently, the people are boiled in the seething cauldron of births and deaths. Of these evil propensities, the first is want of faith in the revelations made by the Guru and in the Shastras. The second is addiction to desires. And the third is dullness, that is, inability to understand the revealed truth. This is a brief statement of them. Of these, want of faith is betrayed by one's doubts regarding the truth of the statements and by failure to understand them. The doubt arises whether there is moksha, and later misunderstanding leads to its denial. These two are sure obstacles to any sincere efforts being made for realization. All obstacles are set at naught by determined belief in the contrary, that is to say, determined belief regarding the existence of moksha will destroy both uncertainty and misunderstanding. But the question arises, how this determined belief will be possible when faith is wanting? Therefore, cut at its root. What is its root? Want of faith has its root in unfavorable logic. Give it up and take to approved logic as found in holy books and expounded by a Guru. Then enlightenment becomes possible and faith results. Thus ends the first evil propensity. The second propensity, namely desire, prevents the intellect from following the right pursuit, for the mind engrossed in desire cannot engage in a spiritual pursuit. The abstraction of a lover is well known to all. He can hear or see nothing in front of him. Anything said in his hearing is as good as not said. Desire must therefore be first overcome before aspiring for spiritual attainment. That can be done only by dispassion. The propensity is manifold, being the forms of love, anger, greed, pride, jealousy, etc. The worst of them is pursuit of pleasure, which if destroyed, destroys all else. Pleasure may be subtle or gross. Neither of these must be indulged in, even in thought. As soon as the thought of pleasure arises, it must be dismissed by the willpower developed by dispassion. In this way, the second evil propensity is overcome. The third, known as dullness, resulting from innumerable wicked actions in preceding births, is the worst of the series and hardest to overcome by one's own efforts. Concentration of mind and understanding of truth are not possible when dullness prevails. There is no remedy for it other than worship of the goddess of the self, adoration, prayer, meditation, etc. I remove the devotee's dullness according to his worship, quickly or gradually or in the succeeding birth. He who unreservedly surrenders himself to me with devotion is endowed with all the requisites necessary for self-realization. He who worships me easily overcomes all obstacles to self-realization. On the other hand, he who, being stuck up, does not take refuge in me, the pure intelligence manipulating the person, is repeatedly upset by difficulties, so that his success is very doubtful. Therefore, O Rishis, the chief requisite is one-pointed devotion to God. The devotee is the best of aspirants. The one devoted to abstract consciousness excels every other seeker. Consummation lies in the discernment of the self as distinguished from the non-self. The self is at present confounded with the body, etc. Such confusion must cease, and awareness of the self must result, as opposed to nascence in sleep. The self is experienced even now, but it is not discerned rightly, for it is identified with the body, etc. There is therefore endless suffering. The self is not hidden indeed, it is always gleaming out as I, but this I is mistaken for the body owing to ignorance. On this ignorance ceasing, the I is ascertained to be the true consciousness alone, and that sets all doubts at rest. This and nothing else has been ascertained by the sages to be finality.